Welcome to the Aerospace Executive Podcast. Welcome back. I've got my good buddy, Matt Johnson, with me. Matt is my producer. He also runs a podcast called the UX Podcast, which talks about all sorts of business leadership topics. Matt, you're writing a book. What's the book you're writing?
The book is called New Media Machine, which is how folks like all of us who are business coaches, consultants, can win the battle for attention without being glued to our phone. Because who wants to do that? Who wants to be on social media all the time?
And I cannot wait to the day that I can get rid of my smartphone and go back to the flip phone.
I know. One of my buddies already has. He runs a multi-million-dollar agency and he has no phone.
I feel like all day long I'm doing this. It's like it drives me nuts. Even I'm starting to recognize it. My wife recognized it a while back. Now I got it. So anyway, hey, look, let's start a series. Talking about I think there's 5 things. I narrowed it down to about 5 things when I talk to young executives, rising executives, A players. They're all looking for about 5 things in a company. And I think the first thing they're all looking for is strong leadership, ability to make a difference, and emotional intelligence. And I think on the flip side, the same thing that the people that are working for those leaders in companies are looking for is strong leadership, the ability to get things done, take control. And, I went back and we had on a podcast, a while back, David Marquet. David wrote the book, Turn the Ship Around. And he does this, he talks about basically intent-based leadership. Okay. And I've gone back and I've gone to YouTube and I've listened to his talks, and it's in front of impressive groups of people, Google, Apple. Yeah. And I like what he talks about. And just to give you kind of the rundown on David. David was a Navy captain, chosen to command a submarine. And he spent a year going through training on this submarine that he was supposed to command. Learned the nuclear reactor, the plumbing, the piping, the safety systems, everything that was unique. He spent a year learning about. Okay. Then 2 weeks before he was supposed to take command of that submarine, they pulled the wool out from underneath him. And the Navy said, hey, you need to go to the USS Santa Fe and take command of that ship. It is the worst performing submarine in the Navy. And you got to go fix it.
Okay.
Great. Sounds like, like, all right, one submarine to another. He's like, no. Santa Fe was a totally new submarine. I didn't know anything about it. Okay. I didn't know anything about its systems. I didn't know anything about its people. I didn't know anything. And he got on board and he realized his ignorance of the submarine sort of made him look stupid. Okay. He would give orders and the people would say, yeah, that would work great, but we don't have that system on board. Okay. And so what he had to do was he had to give up control. And he said, look, I think he had to come into Jesus with his crew. And says, like, I really don't know about this system. So if you're looking to me for the answers, I don't really have them. So my intent is to, we need to be, at this place, at this time, at this depth. How do we get there? And the crew all of a sudden said, hey, look, we need to start to take control. But by giving up control from himself, his crew got stronger. Right. They realized they started to come to him, not with problems, but with solutions. Hey, skipper, I'm going to submerge the ship. We're going down to 1,000 feet or whatever the depth that they want to be at. The hatches are battened. The propulsion system is in order. Whatever the tubes are, the torpedo tube doors are closed. The ship is ready for submerging to, okay, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, basically within about a year, the ship went from the worst performing ship of the Navy to one that was receiving the highest grades the Navy had ever seen.
Goodness.
And he talks about, how giving up control to people actually want to do well. They want to take control. They want to do what's right. And they're willing to do it if given that, ability to do so.
Yeah. Well, especially A talent, A plus talent is absolutely. Yeah. I've been talking a lot about those same sorts of things with my mentor, who, I've been talking a lot about just the difference between being the senior leader and having to kind of dictate what all the tactics are and tell people what to do, that like individually what they should be doing, versus rising to the level of a commander where you set the intent, as he would call it. You set the strategy, you set the goal, the objective, and then you rely on the senior leaders underneath you to tell you, okay, here's how we believe we can get there. By the way, we're going to implement it and run with it. And that is, it's an extremely difficult transition if you're used to being the master of how things are done and at a tactical level, you believe you know how things should be done. Yeah, that letting go of control over how things are done and what's exactly being done to get you where you want to go is really hard.
Right. Well, you think about a CEO of a company. CEO is thinking strategically.
Right.
Markets, what markets we need to be in, what products we need to be in. Where's the industry going? Are we positioned as a company for that? Do we have the right people on board? Do I have the right CFO on board to get there? Do I have the right branding people? Do I have the right CEOs think strategically.
Mm-hmm.
CEOs who micromanage can't be effective.
Right.
And I think that's what David is saying when he talks about turn the ship around, intent-based leadership. My intent as a leader is to pick a subject. I'm the GM of a facility. My intent is to get 100 widgets a day produced at 99.9% quality at under $1 a widget, or whatever the cost is, and deliver to my customers within 7 days of order. That is my intent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody comes and says, okay, director of operations says, or director of manufacturing says, okay, I've got, 2 shifts on board to build the stuff. I've got shipping set up to, ship within 10 hours of stuff coming,
Mm-hmm.
And when you leave it to them, when you leave it to them to come up to their own devices, you've let go, you've taken a whole lot of pressure off yourself. You don't have to work 60, 70 hours a week. You can trust people to get it done for you, provided you've done a good job of getting the right people on board.
Yeah. Love it. So when you say people are like the A plus talent, that's what they're looking for when they come into a new company, what are some of the indicators that you're hearing back from? So when you place somebody and they come back to you and say, hey, this is not the kind of leadership I want to be under. What are some of the things that they're looking at, especially in the early days when they first join a new company, that kind of tips them off that this is not a place where I'm going to be trusted to serve under that kind of leader?
Well, I think it's, can a person get there and do the job that they were, it's, you go through the interview process and everybody says, hey, look, we want X, Y, Z, your background. Hey, I've done this for Acme Co. I've done this for whomever. I can come in and do it for you if you let me. But then all of a sudden companies start, oh, no. We don't want, we told you we wanted to do that, but no. You don't want, that's Jill's job. That's somebody, don't do that. That's Jill's job. All of a sudden, I think what it is people get to companies and they realize that the job they signed up for, or they thought they were signing up for, is not what, is not the job that really exists because somebody is not willing to let go.
Okay. Yeah. Not willing to let go. Okay.
A COO comes on board a company and he's supposed to handle operations, but if the CEO won't let go or continually undermines him or her, then, I'll give you a great example. A guy I know real well, he went to a company as a COO, and the company was founded by a bunch of fighter pilots.
Okay.
I won't say the company. It's pretty well known, but it was founded by a bunch of fighter pilots.
Okay.
And they operate a bunch of airplanes. And they said, we feel like we need a COO to come in and put in process, because with process comes lower cost of maintenance, higher levels of safety.
Mm-hmm.
We know where. So he comes in and he starts to put in process. But none of them wanted to live by the process. Oh, that doesn't. That's great. That's great.
Right.
Yeah, look, personality wise, that's me.
Yeah, of course.
Look, I'll fess up. If the process says you need to be on the right side of the road,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the jerk that's on the left, just
100%.
because I feel like being a jerk that day.
Yes.
That's probably why I work by myself. But I called him up, and the guy has been incredibly. So I placed him in 2012. So he's been with his current company. He's been promoted twice. He's now the COO, sort of almost really acting president of this company.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a great job.
Mm-hmm.
When he was leaving that company, I said, well, why do you want to leave those guys? He said, well, they wanted a COO, but they really didn't want to go through the process.
Yeah.
So my answer to them was, hey, look, if you don't want to do what I'm telling you to do, you don't need me here. So let's just part ways.
Right.
Fair enough. So that's, I think, when people are looking to join a company, and they need to, the first one question they really need to ask is, are you ready for me to do the job that I know that needs to be done to take your company, help you take your company, your business, your operations, your whatever to the next level?
Yeah. Yeah. If I were A+ talent coming into an organization to do something specific, that's one of the first questions I would ask is probably what are you willing to sacrifice? For the result that you want, especially for the result that you expect me to lead my area of the business to, whatever that is. Let's say I'm the person installing process. What are you willing to give up? If I'm installing process, that means giving up, a measure of freedom and autonomy. It means following something that everybody agreed to, and then you have to give up some individual choice. Are you willing to sacrifice that for the outcome you claim that you want? And of course, it's not a perfect thing, but you do get a sense by asking questions like that, and judging the response. You can get a sense of just how much pain they're in, because if they're not in enough pain, they may not be willing to sacrifice what they need to sacrifice to get the result that they want. And it's always tough to gauge that going in. It's tough for you as the recruiter, the person who matches the company to the executive. I think it's tough for both sides to evaluate what the other person's willing to do. But I think that to me is kind of what judges that, whether the relationship gets off on the right foot or not. It's just, hey, you have to decide up front what are you willing to sacrifice for the result that you want me to get you in the company.
Well, it's interesting. Look, if you need 8 levels of signatures to get a new FedEx contract signed, there's a problem. Somebody should be able to sign up. I'll give you a tale of, 2 divisions, 1 company.
Okay.
Division A, the salespeople were given so much margin.
Okay.
20%. You have so much give on every deal. Retail is 10 million. You can go down to 8 without signature approval, without any approval at all. What you don't give away in margin, you get to keep a little bit more of.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say it's a deal, $10 million deal. you can give 2 million of it away, but if you don't give any away, you get an extra 4% on your commission. So it's your best. Okay. So you're giving salespeople autonomy to do their own deals.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you feel like you need to take, but margin is key. So we'll incentivize you to get more margin.
Right.
Another division of the same company, every deal had to be approved by management, no matter how small.
Wow. Okay.
No, any giveaway at all had to be approved by management. And all the sales guys had to submit their deal to one person. And they would all calculate their margins out. They'd sit there and like, all right, let me see, I can give it this way. I know pretty much, they would all submit their deal to one person, and then the person would walk it over to the person who had deal authority. But the person who had deal authority really didn't want to look at the deals. He just wanted to listen to this person to figure out if the deals worked or not.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No. What do you mean? Well, you got to go deeper on that for a second.
So basically, you got a middleman. You got a person with signature authority. You got sales guy, middleman, signature authority.
Okay.
But the middleman was the one that was really going, oh, this is a good deal. That's a shitty deal. Excuse my language. That's a sucky deal. Whatever.
Okay.
So basically what happened was the middleman became the de facto VP of sales.
Okay.
Sales started to crater.
Okay.
Everything's just because the sales guys couldn't get any deals done.
Okay. Within the same company. Okay.
And then the sales guys got frustrated. They all started to leave. Sales guys and girls, they all started to leave.
Right.
And so there you go. It's, hey, look, I'm here to sell. I want to sell. I want to do well. I want to make a little money. I want you to make a little bit of money. I want you to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't really want me to sell anything other than a retail deal, which no buyer is buying at this point in life anyway.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. That's that that's got to be incredibly frustrating for everyone. But yeah, so when somebody comes in, they want to see a certain degree of autonomy. They want to be trusted. They don't want to be micromanaged. That makes sense. I'm curious, just how do you screen as the recruiter? How do you screen a little bit for that on the front side with your client to make sure that they're not going to micromanage somebody you place into their company?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you get a feel for them. You get a feel for their style. You talk to them enough.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I know that a person who comes out of a small business who's used to running the show is probably not going to do well in a big business where there's a matrixed organization and
right.
A lot of a lot of
layers of approval.
So I think it's cultural. I think it's cultural. Yeah. It's just kind of, this person, I think you just get a feel for that.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
But I do ask all CEOs, if you want a COO, are you willing to give them the reins that they need to make the decisions and make what you, and if they hem, they haw, you go, hey, maybe we need to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's all in the questions.
It definitely is. All right. Well, we've got a lot more to say on that, but we'll split this up into kind of an ongoing series. So we talked about leadership by intent. You can go back and listen to that episode. We'll talk a little bit more in another episode about EQ because I've got some questions for you about that. But definitely, if you are on either side, ask yourself, how much is that person going to be given the reins to do what they need to do to take ownership of the result the leader wants, the intent that the leader wants? How much is the leader willing to give up? And is the right person in the right role to kind of take charge and take the reins? So that makes sense.
And I'll give a shout out to David Marquet here, because like I said, I read his book. I've listened to a lot of what he says. Marquet, his book is Turn the Ship Around. Mm-hmm. And I think I just really like, it brings a whole new view to what is leadership. And I just like it. So there you go.
Agreed. All right. Well, and speaking of past episodes, if you head on over to Apple Podcasts, you can rate and review the podcast. And if there was a specific guest like David that you really enjoyed, make sure to give them a shout out in your review. So we love having those reviews and ratings on the podcast. We really appreciate that. And then, Craig, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you and get your blog with all of your musings about the industry and opinions and all that fun stuff?
Call me, 910-509-7129 is the office.
Mm-hmm.
Email Craig@northstaresg.com. Website's northstaresg.com.
Mm-hmm. All on the website. That's right. Looking sharp. It's got your blog there and all the fun stuff. It's got the podcast there as well. So thank you, Craig. Appreciate everybody that was listening. And let's keep an eye out basically for another one in these series.
Sounds great. Thanks, Matt.